Welcome everyone. Really excited to have you here tonight. I'm just about to get started. So those of you are hopping on now. So the webinar topic is called Own Your Feminine Superpower to Attract Lasting Love. So who is this webinar for? It's for you. So I want to make sure that, I'm not going to waste your time. We just want to make sure that it's definitely the right fit for you before you spend the next 45 minutes or so listening to my information. So who's this webinar for? It's for you if you believe that love is absolutely precious, that to love someone and to be loved in return is absolutely precious and priceless. You currently are single and you desire a committed and passionate relationship. You're not just after any kind of relationship, you're longing for a deep, passionate, extraordinary relationship. You value personal growth and you're willing to dive deeper, you're willing to do things differently. So who am I, for those of you who haven't met me before? My name is Camille Thurnher. I'm from Switzerland originally, if you're wondering what kind of accent I have. I have been living in Australia for about 20 years now, so half my life. And I've been living here for 22 years, so just over half my life. I'm a love and success mentor. I specialize in helping driven single women in how to attract a great, amazing partner. I also do some business mindset coaching as well. So some of my clients focus on both of the love, the relationship goal, and a business goal as well. So I do a little bit of that, but my main focus has been helping women in how to attract a great life partner. I'm a lemon tart and cat lover. My cat, Lucky, is 15 years old. Absolutely love cats. I love dogs as well, actually. I love animals. I'm a Leo. If you're into astrology, Leo. I've got a Scorpio ascendant. I love personal development. I've been into it for all my life. Since I was about 17, 18, I was fascinated with, books on philosophy, astrology, meditation, yoga, and then I got more into the coaching world in my early 20s. I'm on a mission to help women like you to have the cake and eat it too. I believe life is way too, you're way too precious to be only having success in one areas. I believe, why not having the cake and eat it too? Also, I forgot to mention, of course, that this photo was taken in Tasmania at our wedding. We didn't want a traditional wedding, so this is my husband Alex. We've been together for nearly 10 years now, but we only got married a couple of years ago. And we hired this really great property on the beach in Swansea on the east coast, and we only had about 30 people there. It was totally relaxed, lots of food and wine, no bridesmaids. Great music. That's all we wanted. So it was my kind of wedding. The modalities I use in my coaching and online course include NLP. I spend a lot of it is on the feminine archetypes. And three I use very much, I dive more deeply, and we'll definitely talk about them tonight. A tool called the Enneagram, and another modality called Chronogetics, which is based on body-mind therapy. So all fascinating stuff. So let's get straight into it. And also I'm just letting you know, I haven't used Zoom that much for webinars, and I saw quite a few of you are there, but at the moment, for some reason, I can't see if there's any questions. Oh no, I can now. It's sort of a bit funny. So I will check again towards the end if there are any questions. But yeah, my mission really is over the next, let's say the next 40 minutes or so, to go through as much content as we possibly can. So here's the summary of my actual formula in regards to how do I actually help single women And just to make it clear for those of you who may be not super clear on how it really works, I don't provide the men, so I'm not a matchmaker, but the way I always describe it is I teach women how to fish, but I don't provide the fish. And the great news is, like, once all of those 5 steps are really aligned and you're in your own zone and you've mastered all those 5 key steps that I'm just about to share, the men do turn up. They really do. It's fascinating how that works. You know, you could, and again, let's focus. I often get carried away, so let me stay focused on the slide. So I'll talk about that in step 4. So step number 1 is to connect to your goal and to really commit. And it's really about you connecting to your goal emotionally and really feeling that emotional connection. So what do I mean by that? So rather than you just having it on your, writing it down as one of your goals, it's like, yeah, I'd love to have a passionate, amazing relationship, but not feeling anything when you are reading out your goals, that means you're not really emotionally connected. So the way I work is I have processes where you're feeling it, you're visualizing it, you can, it's often can be quite, you can feel there's a lot of emotions that can come up when you truly actually connect to your true desire to be in a beautiful relationship. So it's really about having that emotional connection and being all in, being totally committed to the goal. Step number 2, let me just make sure. No, actually, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have any more slides for those parts. I've used different slides in the past. So we will go, actually right now, let's do this now. This is actually really important. So I'll get you to close your eyes. And I can't see you can't see me, so it's all good. I'll get you to close your eyes, and maybe if it feels right, put your hand somewhere on your body where you feel like there's that, where if your desire for a beautiful relationship, if it would live anywhere, like if the desire was somewhere in your body, put your hand there. So it might be on your heart, it might be on your belly, or the solar plexus, which is sort of the area just in between. And I'll just get you to close your eyes, have your hand there, and really ask yourself, what would having an amazing, passionate and committed relationship, what would it really give me? What would that really mean to me? How would I feel differently? You might want to imagine a place and time in a not too distant future. Maybe, let's say 6 months from now, or just under 6 months from now, so the time between Christmas and New Year's. Maybe, let's say New Year's Eve could be a good visual. So if you by then would have found your ideal partner, a man that you're attracted to, a man that you can trust, a man that you can rely on, a man that you respect, and a man that you feel that really close, intimate connection with. How would that actually feel for you? Spending New Year's Eve with him, maybe, out with friends at a party, or maybe just the two of you at a romantic getaway. What would that give you? How would your life be different next year in 2018? How would it change things for you? So just see if you can connect. I know I'm talking quite fast still because I want to make sure I cover everything. But just take a moment to connect to how do you think that would actually feel for you? Would it maybe give you a sense of deep fulfillment, or a sense of deeper belonging, a sense of, you being part of a team again? Just allow yourself to just stay in that moment. Maybe you've got a visual of you, being in a beautiful bubble bath together at this beautiful resort where you might go. Maybe you've got a visual of just celebrating with your friends, but having this man by your side and feeling really proud and grateful. Perfect. And just open your eyes again, have a bit of a stretch. And of course, also when I sent you the email, I asked you to ask yourself, the question was, out of 10, how committed are you at the moment? How much of a priority is it for you right now? Why is it a must that this relationship actually, this goal actually happens? So I didn't really share, I'm not going to share my story in a big way, but just in a nutshell, before I met my husband Alex, it definitely wasn't easy for me, and I really, really struggled in finding the right partner. But my main driver was that I really just wanted to be part of a team again. I was sick and tired of making all the decisions by myself. I was just done with being this independent woman who I knew I could do all the things, but I was really longing for a partnership. And cut a long story short, I ended up doing a lot of personal development. Would have spent about at least $20,000 on just this goal. Doing retreats, went over to America, studied masculine and feminine energies. Did a lot of one-on-one coaching. Probably like 2 solid years. But the great thing was that not only did I end up meeting my now husband, I also found my passion, which is helping women like you in attracting the same. So step number 2 is a really important step as well. That's about you creating space for your ideal relationship. So that includes you letting go of any friends with benefits. It includes you letting go of love substitutes, what I call love substitutes. For example, overworking, overeating, overspending on, clothes, keeping yourself busy, as in, I don't mean like busy in a good way where you do a lot of things, but keeping yourself really busy so you don't have even time to really feel what you're really feeling. Also creating space, as in that emotional space where you, again, it's connected to number 1, of course, where you're really creating that space and making a conscious effort about inviting someone into your life. But it's very much about letting go of negative beliefs as well, letting go of inner conflicts around that you might have around love and success. So it's really clearing the way. Step number 3 is you stepping into the feminine archetypes, or you stepping into the superpowers, and we'll cover them in a few minutes. I'll cover them in a few minutes. That's a really important chunk. So this is all about who do you actually need to be in order to attract that person. What is an amazing guy actually drawn to in a woman? Are you the woman that he would actually fall in love with? Number 4 is more of a practical step. So that is about dating strategy. when with my online program or the one-on-one 6-month program, we would choose 2 or 3 dating strategies. So there could be a mixture of online and offline strategy, but it is definitely good to have a plan, a man attraction plan, basically. However, that part is actually, I would say it's quite small. Once all the other 1, 2, 3, and 5, once you really master them, things become quite easy, and again, you could meet someone in very unexpected ways, but it is good to have that focus, to have a few different ways where you could meet your ideal partner, but you might not end up meeting them initially, because you might, you will need a few potential partners to really make sure that you choose the right one. But you might meet him in a totally unexpected way. That's often what happens. And then step number 5 is mastering the art of the tango of love. So that is all about you learning how to move from that casual dating into a more committed relationship. That's where a lot of women tend to sabotage, because men actually are a lot slower when it comes to wanting to make a commitment and falling in love. So that's a really important step, where the more you can understand how a man's brain works and how he falls in love with a woman, it becomes a lot easier. So in a nutshell, very important not to get physically intimate too soon, to slow down. The reason being is that you can test someone, you can test the man to see if he's really actually serious about getting to know you and taking it slow. Also, from the man's perspective, if he feels like he can get intimate with you too soon, on a subconscious level, he won't quite see you necessarily as long-term material, because he might feel like, oh, well, she's, how do I know that that's not her usual thing? So that's another reason. There are a few other reasons, but they're the main ones. It's really about you and you staying in your power, you really making sure that there is a real connection, rather than just getting carried away with the attraction part. And as women also, once we get intimate, there's a strong, there's just often a very strong bond that gets formed, and with all the hormones, including oxytocin, that just, it's a lot harder to stay in that, in that really solid, empowered, and slightly rational space, more because you do want to have some rational component to your criteria when you're looking for a life partner. So I did have a slide for this. I knew I had it, I just couldn't remember. So why is it important to you? What would it really mean to you to have what you truly desire? So again, you might want to write that down, maybe pen and paper. Why is committed love really important to you? Because let's face it, I mean, really, we as women right now, we don't really need men anymore. You could even choose to have a baby by yourself. You're making your own money, so you don't actually need a guy to survive, to live a great life. So what is your reason? And let me just check if I can see if there's any comments. For some reason, I can see you're all there, so that's good. I trust that you can hear me. So feel free to type anything in, and hopefully I can, let me just see if I can click on the Q&A without losing anything. No questions so far, perfect. Oops. Yeah, I think I need to get a mouse with this with the Zoom. Oops. Give me a second. I just want to close this window, and for some reason it's not letting me. Oh my goodness. Close the window, please. Just see if I can go back. Oh, here we go. Perfect. All right, I won't click on that again. My apologies. I'm still working out this software. I used to use an Instant Teleseminar, but I was told Zoom was better. So now we're going to, basically what I'm diving into now is how to own your superpowers, which is step number 3. So own your feminine superpowers. So the first one is what I call the seductress, or I also call her sultry power. So this is all about sexual confidence. This is all about you feeling sexually confident around men, you feeling at home in your body, you also being in touch with your creativity, you being charismatic. So it's very much about you being in your body, you being really happy with who you are as a sexual being. Because of course, when it comes to love, a man is going to be attracted to your aspects of femininity. He doesn't just want a friend. He is attracted to you as a sexual being. So unless, well, let me explain it this way. So if you're not comfortable with this particular superpower, you might not be experiencing, great orgasms, for example. You might not be comfortable with feeling pleasure in general. It doesn't have to be necessarily sexual pleasure. So this is all about sensuality, good food, music, smells, touch. So it's all about, it is about the body and the senses. Also, of course, if you don't feel like you've got that sexual power, it's going to be a lot trickier for you to actually attract the man initially, because initially we very much attract with that sexual energy. Of course, there needs to be a lot more to it, but it is a very important aspect. So it's about you really owning that. In the negative, there's a negative aspect to her. So all of those, the 3 archetypes that I'm focusing on mainly tonight, they have like a shadow aspect. So in the positive, the seductress is very balanced, and she's also got heart energy. There's an openness to her. If you're very much in touch with this aspect, but it's more in the shadow aspect, that would mean that really it's like your sexuality is just over the top and there are no boundaries. So I don't know if you've ever met women, especially maybe when they've had a few drinks, and there's just like, it's really over the top, and it's not an attractive energy. So with all of the archetypes, there needs to be a nice, what's the best word? There needs to be, I guess, a nice balance of them, and not, not going too far either. So for example, a woman, and I actually did in my 20s, was probably a little bit in the shadow, or definitely at times, where men would feel that real sexual confidence, but then if they couldn't feel anything else, if they couldn't feel any vulnerability or any warmth, then really they saw me as just that fling material, but they wouldn't really consider me as a long-term relationship kind of woman. So I trust that makes sense. What else did I want to cover with her? So how to how to actually embrace her if you feel like that's something, you know, that's an aspect you'd love to embrace more of. Dance classes, anything with movement, you know, maybe some burlesque classes, getting photos, a photo shoot where you feel very beautiful and glamorous. That's actually another point of her. This archetype is very much about feeling seen, being visible, feeling special in a good way. So she's really a woman who's really in touch with this. She's comfortable being seen and receiving compliments. She likes to stand out. So another thing you could do is, you know, get a wardrobe up to, total makeover, new makeup, new beautiful clothes. You definitely dance, you know, buying new lingerie that you feel really sexy in, having regular orgasms, you know, buying a new sex toy, for example. Anything that's got to do with beauty, confidence and pleasure, anything that makes you feel more in touch with this beautiful aspect, is definitely worth exploring. You know, even if you've sort of been disconnected from your own sexuality, maybe like reading some, you know, some great erotic literature could be another way, you know, watching movies, sexy movies, all that sort of stuff. Perfect. So let's move on to the beach power. So very different energy. So she is all about having really high standards. She's really clear on what she says yes to, and she's really clear on what she says no to. She's got very strong boundaries. Very, very important in order to attract a great man, because unless let's say you've got a lot of the seductress energy, but you don't have any of those really high standards, again, a man won't necessarily respect you the way that you deserve to be respected. This one is also very much about being really clear on what you want, owning that power of yours, and being very confident about asking for what you want. So let's say in a new relationship, might be early days where you're dating someone and you're getting closer to them. A lot of women, even when they're really confident with their career or business, they tend to find it challenging to really asking for what they want and telling men what they're not happy with. It sounds very simple, but it's a really important part, especially in the beginning, where you communicate what your needs are, you're really clear on what your standards are, and you owning your worth. It's a very attractive quality. What else did I want to cover with her? I guess it's also really about you believing that you do deserve. It does go into the beliefs a little bit, like you really believing that you can have an extraordinary relationship regardless of your past. Because, you know, a lot of my clients, if you're anything like some of my clients are, they've had a lot of, or quite a few bad relationships, or relationships that ended badly, or you might have never had a really good long-term relationship. So this archetype is very much about you really owning your desire, and you really backing yourself all the way and not compromising. So this is also about not compromising, not allowing to be in compromising situations when it comes to relationships. So the shadow part of this one would be that you are a woman who's a total ice queen, where there's no emotional openness. It's just like, really, you know, stay away. It's that real super toughness that would then of course, then it's harder for men to actually really, it's harder for them to approach you, for example. So if you've got too much of her, then that can be a negative thing. So again, we want her to be nicely balanced with the seductress, and then the one I'll share in a few minutes. So I guess what would be good if you could, for your own reference, just write down out of 10, with sultry power, how comfortable are you with her out of 10? How comfortable are you with bitch power out of 10? So allure power, very, very different energy. So she's all about receptivity. It's all about the art of receiving. So she's very much about sitting back, and she trusts that things come to her without her having to chase. So she's also about vulnerability, being very much in touch with your emotional inner world. And again, it's about non-doing. So she is the most feminine out of the three. So why is she important? So from a man's perspective, you might have, amazing sexual confidence. You might be very charismatic, very confident. You might have really strong boundaries. But if there's a lack of that softness, that vulnerability, a man tends to not fall in love with a woman who doesn't have this aspect. Because from a man's perspective, he craves that emotional world. He craves he wants to give. He actually wants to make a woman happy. He doesn't want to just have a woman who's exactly the same as him. He's drawn to that femininity, that softer aspect of femininity, because the bitch is also a feminine aspect. That doesn't always have to be soft and fluffy. So this is also a very important aspect. It's very much, it's the most, I would say, the most challenging one to step into, because as driven alpha females, we often tend to associate it with being weak rather than strong. And we feel less in control when we're more in receptive mode. Even though it is such a powerful energy, we tend to not feel as much in control. We don't tend to trust that if we actually don't push for things to happen, that they will actually happen when it comes to love. And for some of you, it hasn't happened naturally, right? So I totally get that. So that the shadow part of her would be a woman who is totally self-absorbed in her emotions, who's very overly sensitive, all over the place, who doesn't have any boundaries. So be sort of the opposite to the bitch archetype. So that is her. So once a woman has got a really good grasp of all of those, and they're nearly like, the way I like to describe it is, this is not about you being something you're not. It's you tapping into your version of each archetype. So for example, with the seductress, sultry power, your version of that would be very, very different to my version. And that's absolutely perfect, because it's all about authenticity. So however, a lot of the time we have those aspects that we just haven't embraced for whatever reason. They weren't either they weren't encouraged when you grew up, or let's say with vulnerability, maybe you've had really bad experiences where your heart did get broken when you were 21 or 25, and you chose to just not go there again. So we all have our own defenses and our negative beliefs and our negative past experiences, you know, layers of it. But there's always a way for you to really own your power again in a way that actually feels really right. So trust that makes sense. Again, for some reason I can't scroll up. All good. I'll just keep on going. So this is a quote by Wayne Dyer, and I love it. Absolutely love this quote. And he sadly passed away a couple of years ago, but I was lucky enough to meet him on a book writing cruise, actually I think it was about four years ago now. And his energy was just amazing. So he says, you don't attract what you want, but you attract what you are. And that can be a bit of a, you know, it's like, ouch, that's not very nice. But it really is true. So you might be really clear on your relationship goal, but unless you are a match to what you are looking for and aligned with your beliefs, your archetypes, you understanding men and knowing how to navigate those early stages of dating, it's really tricky to get what you want otherwise. And so that's very much, you know, this quote is very much aligned with my approach. So the next step, so I usually keep the webinars around 40 minutes because I feel like otherwise it just keeps on going. So I trust that you've got a good taste of my approach. And also I think it's really important with those five steps, actually, let me, you know, not just the archetypes, but with the 5 steps, maybe do a little assessment right now and just also check in with yourself. Which step is your missing part, or which steps? There's probably 2 or 3 actually that are missing for most of you. So maybe you're not totally committed to the goal. Maybe you haven't totally connected to the emotions. Maybe you haven't created the space. Maybe there's still a lot of negative beliefs. Maybe you're not, you know, really not good with receiving, or not, you don't feel beautiful at the moment. Maybe you really don't know where to meet your ideal man. Maybe you usually, you know, maybe you often sabotage things when things don't go as fast as you would like. So you having clarity on what you're currently doing well and where you are stuck will give you the power to do things differently. You know, even though if we're not going to end up chatting and you might not do any of my programs, even you having that awareness and that clarity will make a huge difference. So just take some notes if you can. You know, where are you strong, and where are your gaps? Same with the aspects of femininity. So the next step is, if you really feel my approach resonates and you are currently, you know, it's more with the question about how much of a priority is it. So it needs to be at least an 8 out of 10. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be enough of a priority for you to even have a conversation. So for you, the criteria for you to book in for a chat, and I'll email you. You'll get an email after the webinar with just some questions, and then we'll make a time to chat over the next few days. But yeah, the criteria is it needs to be at least an 8 out of 10 of a priority. You need to be open to do things differently in order to get a different result. And I guess the last one is, you really resonated with my approach, because it's a bit like dating when you consider a mentor. It's either there's a bit of a connection, there's a bit of chemistry there, or there's more of a like, oh, I can't stand listening to this woman, you know. So it does need to be, there needs to be a bit of a connection there. So the next step is for you to fill in the form that I'll email out. I will then get in touch, and the chat, what will happen is I'll get you even more clear on where you currently are stuck, so which aspects aren't there. I will also get you a lot. I'll help you in connecting to your goal on a more emotional level. So we'll do a little bit of work around that. And then at the end of the 20 minutes, again, I will ask you, would you like to find out about what's on offer? And if you feel after that 20-minute chat, okay, you know, it just didn't work for me, the conversation didn't flow, then we'll leave it at that. I would then mention some resources that I would recommend. If we both feel it's a match, and I feel like I could definitely help you in finding a great partner by the end of the year, that's when I would mention my 2 offers. So there's an online version which includes group coaching calls. The next one is starting on Monday, so it's an 8-week program, but you're actually getting access to the group calls over 4 months. Or there's a 6-month offer that is a lot more, it's a lot more intimate, a lot more one-on-one. Well, it actually does have one-on-one, where the 8-week program doesn't. So that is the next step. So there you go. I had a slide. What's in your way? Commit to the love goal. One powerful tool that you can use straight away. You will get that regardless what your 2 options are. If you choose to move forward with me as your love and success mentor. Also, I forgot to mention, I've been helping women like you for about 6 years now. Lots of success stories, lots of marriages, but what I'm most proud of is there's been 3 babies now. So from, you know, past clients who met their partner and they've now got babies. So that's what I'm most proud of, especially one of them who actually did consider to have a baby by herself. And we did some coaching, and she ended up meeting an amazing man who already had a child, but he was really keen to have another one, and their child is now about 1.5 years. So again, if my approach resonates and it's a real deep desire of yours, definitely fill in the form, and I will get in touch with you, and we'll book something in for this week. So regardless, thank you for your time. Dare to have it all. Why not go for the, you know, why not go for the stars? You know, I nearly feel like as women now, with where we're at, with all the opportunities we have compared to what our grandmothers had, it's really our responsibility to live life to the fullest. And having a rich, beautiful, intimate, passionate and committed relationship, in my opinion, is a big part of that puzzle. So again, thank you so much for being on the call. Really looking forward to chatting with you if you choose to book in, and have a great evening. Lots of love.